выдающийся советский композитор Дмитрий Шостакович.
He didn't want to make himself into a dramatic character, but sometimes, as his mind skittered in the small hours, he thought, so this is what history has come to. All that striving and idealism and hope and progress and science and art and conscience, and it all ends like this, with a man standing by a lift, at his feet a small case containing cigarettes, underwear and tooth powder, standing there and waiting to be taken away.
In the book, you discuss in a way whether being a hero is easier than being a coward.
Yes, it's complicated, isn't it? I mean, often looking at a tyrannical state from the outside, we want people to be heroes, but then we're also asking for their blood when we do. And to be a hero, you can throw a bomb, you can pull a trigger, and then you're wiped out. On the other hand, in Soviet Russia, in Stalin's Russia, it wasn't just you who was wiped out, it was your family, your friends, everyone was corrupted by your fall. So your only choice really was to compromise and pay Caesar. And that's what Shostakovich did. He paid Caesar as best he could, while keeping as much of himself, his private soul and his music as untouched as possible.
There's a scene at the beginning of the book where he has his first meeting with power, as it was, you know, the forces of Stalin, and he thinks that he is going to be purged, and he waits outside the lift for almost a fortnight.
After Lady Macbeth was condemned, he thought that he was probably going to be taken away and shot. What happened, oddly, on the weekend between the Saturday and the Monday was that the interrogator himself was purged. So he was sort of off the hook for a bit, but he still thought that he would be taken away. And so he spent the nights standing on the landing outside his flat by the lift doors, because he didn't want his wife and child, you know, the trauma of having the door broken down in the middle of the night, child taken away, perhaps taken away to a Soviet orphanage where she'd be brought up as a good communist and would never know who her parents were. That was unthinkable to him. But that was quite normal in Soviet Russia.
You have Shostakovich say, it's easy being a communist if you don't live in a communist country. And actually you talk about Picasso and Sartre.
Yes. One of the interesting sides of Shostakovich is he was a great ironist, and he was also very sarcastic. And he was particularly harsh on fair weather friends and on those who he saw as, you know, helping enforce and entrench Stalinism. Stravinsky, whom Shostakovich revered. They met twice. It was a very uneasy meeting on both occasions. Stravinsky never went to the help of any persecuted Soviet composer. So Shostakovich's conclusion is that you can have artistic integrity, as Stravinsky did, and not have moral integrity. He thought that that was a weakness on Stravinsky.
So you have, on one hand, you have the kind of Solzhenitsyn figure, on the other side, the Shostakovich figure. Which do you think you would have been?
Oh, I think I would have been a coward. I think I would have done some kind of deal in order to keep on writing and keep on being published. I mean, Shostakovich used to say that music is not like Chinese eggs. It doesn't gain by being buried in the ground for years. And so he didn't think that when a piece of his was banned, it would get better with time. He just thought the people for whom it was being written were not getting the benefit of it.
The book is about truth and freedom and conscience. I wonder if you think now that there is artistic freedom in Russia.
Well, I'd be very wary about writing a satirical novel about Putin. One of my favourite Russian sayings, which I used as an epigraph to one of my novels 20 years ago, and I repeat in the book, is, "He lies like an eyewitness," which is so wonderfully ironic and so Russian and so Shostakovich. And they do say of Putin, don't they? They say that he's very, very straightforward to deal with, and when he lies brilliantly.
But if you were in opposition to Putin, given what's happened to Nemtsov, given what happened to Litvinenko, would you have sleepless nights?
I'd have sleepless days as well. And you can understand why they're building mansions, the rich ones, all around me in North London.
Which is interesting now, because there is a kind of resurgence of interest and kind of affection for Russia from the British left.
Yes. I don't think it's the shining city on the hill anymore. But I remember when the wall came down, I remember being very disappointed with Western politicians, because I thought that they would say, now we can painlessly and without any fear look at what left-wing systems had and maybe take some of the best that they had and put it with some of the best we had. Whereas in fact, when the Cold War ended, everyone was sort of high-fiving and saying, we're the best, our system has won, there is no alternative, you can only have capitalism. And there were terrible consequences in Eastern Europe. I mean, complete collapse of money. Pensioners who'd been, worked as surgeons, say, all of a sudden having to go and dig their allotments. I have friends in Bulgaria who told me all about it.
But you talked about being a child of the Cold War and having, very distinct memories of what repression really was. And I wonder if you think that we take free speech and the attacks on free speech too casually in this country now. Particularly on no platforming is really what I'm talking about now.
Yes.
That actually, what do you make of the idea of no platforming?
Oh, I think it's crazy, especially in an academic situation where the whole point of being young and clever and at university is to have your views challenged and opposed, and to have forceful figures like Germaine Greer come and annoy you. I mean, and make you think for yourself. So I think no platforming is a very, very bad idea. Because you disagree with someone about one item of thought, therefore the rest of their thinking is not only uninteresting but wrong too. And that's a kind of closing of the mind. Yep. I mean, the mind is often closes. I don't know when there was ever a golden age.
Julian Barnes, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.